December 21st, 2018 meeting of the Rotary Club of Sebastopol Sunrise. And we have a pledge from our dear Gail. Gail, if you would be so
Amen. Face the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And let's greet our neighbor. Come on, neighbor.
Aloysius. I know.
the better half.
Put your hand right around
A song!
Got to use our control, Jim. And it's raining this morning, isn't it? Yeah, it's a very beautiful morning. Now where we're going here. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. The horn is as high as an elephant's eye, and it looks like it's climbing clear up to the sky. Oh, what a beautiful morning! Oh, what a beautiful day! I got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way.
Thanks to the mic team, Lori and Natalie. Thank you so much. Oh, by the way, mic team, you are on A duty today. We've got some visitors to announce it. And Adrian Summer. We had different breeders today. I know I got a note from Summer. She's not coming. Looks like Adrian wasn't able to make it. At any rate, thought du jour, Linda.
Thank you, President Matt. So, don't eat romaine. That's number one, but my real thought for the day, one of the marvelous things about community is that it enables us to welcome and help people that we couldn't help as individuals. When we pool our strengths and share the work and responsibility, we can welcome many people, even those in deep distress, and perhaps help them find self-confidence and inner healing. Welcome, old friends and new friends, to the community that is Sebastopol Sunrise Rotary.
Thank you so much. Wow. What the thought du jour? Visiting Rotarian, Linda, Lori.
Linda. I always wanted to be Linda because she had the best Barbies growing up, but I'm Lori too. So, it's true. Welcome Holly Garrettson from Santa Rosa downtown, right? Financial advisor.
Welcome, Holly.
Welcome.
Good morning, it's early, let's hope for more rain.
Absolutely. Okay, and then my dear cohort from Hawaii, Ron Cutler, here you go.
Aloha! Captain Ron!
Captain Ron, one of our past presidents here. Okay.
That's it?
That's it for
Now, I do believe we have some guests to welcome, and Lori, perhaps if we could go from table to table and welcome our guests and ask them to say a word or two about themselves, if that would be okay.
So my first guest that I'm introducing is Priscilla Rock. She's the new Director of Development at the Humane Society.
Priscilla, welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much. I feel very welcome. I've had probably 6 hugs already this morning. I expect quite a few more. Thank you.
Be careful what you ask for.
I'm just delighted to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Priscilla.
Second guest is Barney Clark. She used to be a member, massage therapist, and then Lotus Healing, Massage, and Yoga.
Well, it's great to be here. Wonderful energy. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
And
Debbie's back. Debbie!
Hi, I'm Debbie Klein, everybody.
Returning Rotarian. She's decided to come back.
Debbie's one of our members.
I think Debbie might have an announcement.
Oh, does Debbie have an announcement?
Announcement.
Do you, Debbie?
About the Rotary Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So next Friday, which is the 30th, the Rotary Club is, the Transcendence Theater is having a Rotary Day. So there's a pretty significant savings if you want to attend the November 30th thing over at Lord Klugerberg Center. And it's also crazy, it's also ugly sweater night, so kind of thing.
So the Transcendence Theater is going to help us with our rites of spring. I'm looking forward to that. And
Good morning. I'd like to introduce my guest, Fred Amar.
welcome, Fred.
Good morning, everybody, and thanks, Natalie, for inviting me, and thank you all for your hospitality.
Thank you.
Fred is an attorney here in town.
Uh-oh. We got some visitors over here. Bruce.
If you'll excuse my not standing. We have the principal of Dumbledore, Matt Uncle.
Matt Duncan. Thank you, Matt, for coming.
Good morning, thank you, everybody. As I get going in the morning, I took the wrong turn, so I took the long way here. I turned left on purpose, and I started on autopilot in the morning. So I just was on my way to El Molino, and I realized, oh, wait, I'm actually coming this way. Thank you, everybody.
Likely excuse.
Took the scenic tour.
And of course, I love the exchange goods.
Yes. Good morning, Madeline.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, over here. Yes? Yes.
Oh, wait a minute. That's my job.
Then do it.
Good morning. I'd like to introduce my 2 guests. I have Marilyn Olson, who is the owner and incredible community supporter of Screaming Me.
Hey,
And my child bride of 40-something years, Ellie, is with us today.
welcome, Ellie.
I've got 2 guests today, Peter Search and Luli Bittencourt Brown.
Wow. Would you like to say a word or two and introduce yourself?
Amazing to see so many people up this early.
I know, that's amazing in itself. Period.
I just moved to Westville about 8 months ago, and I've never lived in a friendlier town. I have to
Good.
say.
Well, welcome.
I'm very
You're
happy to
welcome.
be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And over at this table, we have some.
I have 3 guests. We've already met Holly. She's a Rotarian in Santa Rosa Main Club. And I also have Brandon Garrison, Sonoma County Comfort and Heat, and Lori Corzo of the Polished Salon. And they're going to say hi.
Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having us here.
Thank you, everybody, for having us. You've been very nice people that I've met so far.
And it's good to see Jim here too.
Yes, it is. It is indeed. So I wanted to tell our guests a little bit about Rotary and about our club. My name is Matthew Whitteman. I'm the president of this assemblage and of dignitaries. So Rotary is an international service organization with, I believe, over 34,000 clubs worldwide in 200 nations. It's really the preeminent service organization with just about the highest rating you can get from, what is it? Charity Navigator. Unbelievable efficiency in how it translates donations to money in the hands of people in need. Rotary, the clubs are composed of business leaders and professionals and community leaders that get together for purposes of fellowship, having fun, but primarily for community service. That's what we do. And our club is no different. We have a diverse club with, I dare say, a lot of dynamic people. John is going to be speaking to us today. I think probably the best winemaker in Sonoma County. We have writers, we have writers and artists, and we have attorneys, some here and there lurking about. We have medical professionals, we have nonprofit administrators, scientists, geologists, chemists, and so forth and so on, and the list goes on. So it's a very diverse group with lots of energy, lots of creativity, and we're here for fellowship and community service. Have some fun, have some yuck. We usually have a bunch of the former and plenty of the latter as well. We do local service. We do lots of projects and things about the community. This is Wayne's, a project that Wayne Britton sort of shepherded at the Laguna Continuation High School, is it, Wayne? A greenhouse that we installed there. But all you have to do, and I don't have to really tell most of you, you just walk around the town to find plaques on things that Rotary in this town has put up or helped to improve in some way. I go to the post office regularly and there's a plaque there. Rotary helped to improve that post office in the past. There's a plaque on the stage at Ives Park that memorializes the fact that we built that stage there. So I think all of you appreciate the fact that we are deeply involved in this community, from this sort of thing, the greenhouse project, to dictionaries in the schools, to helping our schools, to grants to our schools, to grants to other charities and nonprofits in the area, and the list goes on and on and on, and I won't bore you with it. The other thing that we do that many people don't appreciate that are not in Rotary is there's a substantial international service project, and it was really incredible. I urge you, if you haven't before, to go to the Rotary International website and just look at the things that Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation are involved in. It is amazing. From our polio eradication project, which is nearly complete and achieved, mission accomplished. We are in partnership with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on that, and a number of other significant players. And we do just, what did George W. or George H. talked about 1,000 points of light. There are 34,000 points of light around the world. In all of the clubs around the world that we partner with, and clubs partner internationally with one another. This is one of the partnerships that Jerry helped put together. It's a rainwater harvesting and toilet construction project at the Hulia Girls School in Tanzania. And this is the kind of thing, we be the inspiration. Every one of us can achieve just mighty things, and it's incredible through the power of Rotary, right? The Sonoma County Association of Rotary Clubs. This is Sonoma County Rotary Clubs getting together to achieve big things. And so it's a good thing, right? Good. So I want to introduce very briefly my team here in my year, and Is Paula here? Unfortunately, our community service person, Judy Rice, is, I guess, undergoing hip surgery or something. So she's not here with us. Jerry, could you please stand? Jerry is our international service chair. Linda, would you please stand as our membership chair? Bill Schlutius is our club service chair. Terry is our fundraising chair. And Bob, could you please stand? Youth service. And Wayne, vocational chair. And there's so many others. And I want to point out Bruce and Helene Campbell, who are past district governors, and they've done so much for our club and our foundation. And who have I forgotten? Lori. I'm sorry.
Lori Darling.
Lori Darling. Lori Darling is our president-elect, and she will be assuming the mantle. She will be assuming the mantle next year, and she, as so many in this club, have worked tirelessly to advance our mission in this club and our mission in Rotary in general. So I'm proud of our team. We do make a difference, and I'm hoping that I can play this video for you. So there you have it. Service of others above self. Let me see if I can move this thing to the next. No, I don't want that.
Where's Kimberly?
Okay, so we can help. We want everyone to know here, everyone that has come today, that we are here to help the community. Don't hesitate to approach us if you have needs. You can help. We may come to you at times for assistance. And above all, you are welcome here in our Rotary family. So please consider joining us and being part of the difference, being the inspiration, making a difference. All right, so there you have it. That's our introduction. And happy Thanksgiving. It's a wonderful, wonderful time to have this open house. Thanksgiving will be tomorrow. There's so much that we have to be thankful for. And this is, I annoy my club every week with something about the law. And this is a little something. It says he's got the turkey there is cross-examining the gravy in the docket there. Isn't it true that you had plans to smother my client? Anyway, so birthdays, anniversaries. Jim! Welcome! What did you guys do for your birthday? Your birthday. Do we have a mic for Big Jim? Yeah.
A little camping, a little fly fishing, a little camping.
A little. I got that. All right, that works. Yeah, the wrist action.
Wonderful job on Rotary overview this morning.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm just very pleased to have you and all of our guests today. Like Madeleine, our Rotary Youth Exchange, it's another thing that we do in this club. We sponsor exchange students, and it's one of the jewels in our crown as far as I'm concerned. As is, I might add, Louis, what you do with Interact at El Molino. Can you just stand for a minute and tell us a little bit? It's amazing what Louis does there at, what really the El Molino students do under your supervision.
Well, I do a lot. I bring pizza and that brings people.
Lots of pizzas, huh?
Lots of pizzas and lots of people. Interestingly, we showed Jerry's project in Tanzania. He's going to come to talk to the Interact Club. They don't do fundraising as such. They like to do projects with their hands. They're doing the cleanups, and river cleanups, beach cleanups, and other things around. But I thought the group is working fairly well. It's fairly organized. This should be a time to try a fundraising. It can't hurt. It can't hurt to do it, and I think it'd be a good lesson for them to see how this comes together. And it's a cause they will understand, because basically these are for girls who every day have to go several kilometers to get water.
4 kilometers each way.
4 kilometers each way every day to get the water for any bathing, anything like that. We've talked about it. And I think they're getting behind it. So that's my goal for this year, to make that a successful fundraiser.
Thank you very much for that. So announcements, November 29 is the Sonoma County Association of Rotary Clubs. We have our meeting at John's Vineyard when we host the Sonoma County Association of Rotary Clubs. November 29th is at the Petaluma Women's Club. It's Petaluma Sunrise. December 7th, first Friday at Scott's Place Party! RSVP, please. December 12th, club business meeting. December 25th is our holiday dinner. Kathy, could you please say something about this? This is a wonderful thing that is growing every year.
Terry and I'll send out the volunteer list Friday. I've got confirmed when we can have the church and confirmed when we're doing the tamales. So we make tamales, about 600 of them, 2 weeks before Christmas. And it takes us about 2.5 hours Friday and Saturday. So I think that's fun, right, Michael? Michael is our food person. I could go around the room because everybody does something for the Christmas dinner. I'll be contacting every one of you personally with regard to turkeys, what you normally do, like Scott's Toys, and I'll just confirm everyone's on and we're set to go. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
1 to 4 o'clock at the community church. Everyone's welcome.
Happy Thanksgiving. So I was going to put on a little musical snippet of this song called Cold Turkey. Have you heard this song? This guy does this song, Cold Turkey, about having cold turkey, for weeks after Thanksgiving. I did too. I saved you. So no meeting, we're dark December 26th, January 2. By the way, we may change that date, December 12th. I'm in consultation. January 4th, first Friday, March 23rd, Rites of Spring. Right on. Michael, you want to say just a brief word, and then we got to...
Yes, we have our spring fundraiser coming up on March 23rd. We have the Transcendence Theater Company will be participating. We kind of nailed that down. And there's a lot of details to flesh out, so we're going to have a meeting next week on Tuesday. You'll get an email about this, and people who want to work on the planning part should mark that out. It'll be 5:30 up at Helene Campbell's house.
Well, I'm hoping, and I guess it's still in the work. This year we had El Molino's law department there, right? Who's your man there?
We got a new person this year.
Okay.
Yeah, Megan Gilmore.
Megan Gilmore.
Megan Gilmore is taking over.
I'm looking forward to it. It was great having your participation and Alan's participation.
Thank you.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Terry.
Let the man out.
So Terry is going to talk a little bit about our beer bash. And first of all, round of applause. For Terry. Here's Terry.
Thank you. So the big news, we made a little money on it. By my math, for $15,000 to the good from the Cajun Festival last year. So, not that we made $15,000. Anyway, great event. The last part of it is we want to do some recognition of people that are here and a few that are not here. And we're going to start. Is Mark here this morning? No. Needs drugs today. Well, Forestville Pharmacy.
Charlie does so much for our club, by the way.
Charlie Judson. I saw Charlie.
Hey, Charlie.
Weeks was a sponsor. And it's a beer festival. We felt the need to have wine, and it was appreciated. And the wine were... John, thank you. We do appreciate it. We had other sponsors and community involvement. And this is really, when I put these together, it dawned on me really how much community involvement we had. Hydrologic, which is a water purifying company up off of Pleasant Hill Road, provided the drinking water, so we did not have to use bottled water, which was great, and it made Chris Croquet happy.
That was for our designated drivers and for people towards the end of the beer fest. Doing something other than alcoholics make it home.
So Hydrologic said, you came, you poured, people stayed hydrated. And we went through a lot of water. Beer Republic, you came, you poured, people had a great time. And that is...
Moonlight Brewing.
Moonlight Brewing.
Devon, Texas.
Yes.
Yeah. And Terry, you have a list of people lined up to deliver these plaques, I understand.
Right. You bet. They're going out to your trunk after the meeting. Walker Apples. Thank you.
Yeah, Walker.
And all of the stuff they provided, the tractor outfit, and all the old implements to give us that kind of manly beer drinking.
You're here till the third.
Gerard's Paella?
Yeah, Gerard's Paella was there. Ethic Ciders, we had a cider pour as well. Someone pointed out that it was the first day of our trails, and one of our participants suggested that we make it a, I won't say husband just because he was, but a significant other babysitting station. Where you can drop them off and go off and drink beer and they'll pick you up at the end of the day. So we have our marketing for next year.
Nothing's broken or lost at the end of the day.
Panazera Meats.
The sausages that we sold.
Rock and Roll Rhythm Review. So if you were involved with getting any of these, please bring them their plaque.
Mardello.
Yeah, we'll get them. Another sponsor. Morris Distributing.
Three Disciples Brewing.
Wonderful, brand new brewery. Old Possum Brewing over by on Standish in Santa Rosa, where they're pouring.
Nice. Woodford down here in
Woodford, yeah. Old Kaz, which is brewery out in Cazadero. Pretty new. This was their first gig, and they were there at 9 o'clock when we pulled up, and they had everything with them. And they didn't need everything, so they got offloaded, went back, and came around. But they were really pumped. This is the youngest group we've had at any of one of our functions.
Penthouse Brewing.
And the old stable, Lagunitas. Hair Lagunitas. So those are the community involvement. Now for our committee, so please come on up when we call your name. Bill Slodius. Hand that to Bill. Thank you, Bill. I don't think Nikki Larson is here today. Nikki travels a bit. Thank you. Matt Whitman.
Oh, me? What?
Matt had to go pick up the ice a couple of times, so that's really important.
I gave him a lot of grief, I know.
Wayne Britton. Natalie McNamara.
Yeah,
Yay, Natalie. Natalie really made a huge difference in this thing. Thank you so much, Natalie.
Editor and publisher of Sebastopol Living.
That one I'll do last. Paul Page is not here. Mike McLaughlin.
Mark.
Yeah. Michael Cook the sausage.
One energy bunny there.
Scott Hensey. Yeah. President-elect Lori Darling, the raffle queen. And Barbara, seriously, for some reason yours printed really small, so you don't get it today. But Barbara Varney was our staff accountant that day, and we balanced, so it was great. Last of these, PJ and Ellie, why don't you guys come up here for a second? PJ and Ellie, come up here for a second. They approached us about 2 months ago, maybe it's been 3 months at this point, about sponsoring 60 survivors from the Coffee Park fires. And so they actually sponsored 30 people themselves, and it was a challenge to us to go out and get another 30, which we did. I think we exceeded that. And so it was a great challenge. It inspired us. It kind of kick-started us, got this thing going, and we really appreciate all your help.
Here, here. Indeed. Terry and Bill.
All right.
So, we have another disaster, fire disaster, and Terry's going to talk briefly about this, and then I want to bring John up to start his talk.
I promise I'll try not to get on John's. Let's see. Bill Gates says I have another, or Steve Jobs says I have another couple of minutes. So yeah, everyone's aware of what's been going on in the Paradise Fire. I know a handful of us who I've learned have personal connections up there. We do, Bill does. So when Katrina happened, we took a really measured approach to Katrina. We didn't just throw money at a fire relief fund and assume that it would go well. Now the Rotary ones here are a little different, they will go well. But I'd like to see us maybe hold off, look for the right kind of project for us to be involved in, where we can maybe even go up and have some hands-on stuff, but actually go up and do something that will help make a difference in that community. So that's going to mean money, that's going to mean getting friends involved, it's going to mean a lot. And at some point we're going to want to go up and tour just a little bit and see what we can find. We have an uncle, my wife's uncle Roy and his wife Carol. Roy was a speaker here in 2005. He was a Korean War veteran, had a below-the-knee amputation, leg amputation because of a landmine, and talked with us about that whole experience. He and Carol lost their home. Bill, I think Maxine's nephew or niece, lost their house. A few of us are Chico graduates. PJ, right on, right on. We need more. That's strong more, isn't it? So anyway, we're going to take a real measured approach to that. It won't happen tomorrow. It won't happen probably 6 months from now. It took probably 3 years for us to really get Katrina and stuff moving. So, but we have to do something. We have to be involved. That's our backyard. And if I had to imagine, there's a handful of Chico State graduates living in West County because, well, we kind of like it this way. So that's what's coming up with that. Keep doing it.
Thank you, Terry, for that. Round of applause. Thank you. Michael circulated an e-blast with this information where you can donate immediately to fire relief. But we'll look forward to Terry's proposal. And I don't know, our speaker, of course, is John. Did you want to introduce John Charlie, or shall I? Maybe John needs no introduction. I mean, I've got to tell you, in the 4 or 5 years I've been in this club, John has been an absolute pillar and an unbelievable supporter, not only of this club, but of the community. And again, I'm probably telling you things that you know. My wife and I love his wines, as probably everyone in the room does. And we're just so pleased you're a member of the club, John. And so, without further ado, John will come up and talk a little bit about his life and times and what he does. We do need a mic for John. Let me gear him up here.
Did he bring me a
Well, thank you so much for having me.
All right, here we go, here we go. Here
Matt, did John bring me a new pair of windshield wipers?
Well, no, but Marty, I'm glad you spoke up.
I got you a new car, Marty.
I'm glad you spoke up, Marty, because you know what? By way just of a recognition gratuity, I'm thinking maybe $15, Marty.
Two weeks ago, I paid $10.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
$10 then, $15.
Death by 1,000 cuts.
There he is, John.
Hey, good morning, everybody. So great to be here. And before we get started, though, everybody needs to understand a few things I'm going to talk about in my early days. You guys, when you leave here today, you can't repeat them. So, grew up, my parents moved here from Daly City in 1961, and we bought 5 acres down on Daywalt Road between the two Hessels. And it was actually the original Santa Rosa Ranch, dated back in like 1870, the house. And at one time it was a huge ranch, but only 5 acres were left. And I grew up there, and the early days went Gravenstein School. You know, the only time that we took the bus was when it was raining. Our parents never drove us to school unless we missed the bus and it was raining. So, what a great time to grow up in this community. I always tell my daughters how special it was. And played sports in grammar school. And in 1972 was kind of a changing part of my life. I was 14, I was a freshman at Anley. And there was a gym down here in south of town. And a couple of the Olympians, Ron Simcoe and Al Feuerbach, they worked out there in the summertime. And Al Feuerbach was the world record holder only for a short period of time. And he won the Olympic gold medal, I think it was either in 72 or 76. And then Ron Simcoe was the national junior college record holder in the shot put. And this kind of got me into lifting weights. Before that time, I was kind of a little skinny guy. And I started really working out at that point, and started throwing the shot put and discus, and then I went on and played football. And all through high school, going to Anley High School was a great experience. Marty, except for Marty. No, I'm just kidding. But it was like a small private school at that time. The coaches, everybody knew everybody. If you got in trouble, your parents knew about it before you got home. And it's serious. That was the way it was. However, there was a time in the mid-70s where we all had fast cars. I had a 67 GTO. My friend Ron McDonald had a 69 Z28. We would have car parades of over 100 cars in town Sebastopol. Our racetrack was out on Occidental Road, actually where our winery is today. We had a start and finish quarter mile every Friday and Saturday night. And I'm not kidding. One night, this is a story you can't repeat, but I was arrested twice during the high school times. But one night, my friend Ron McDonald and I were racing south of Sebastopol by Chapeo. I was doing 120 miles an hour, and he passed me. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. The sheriffs pulled us over. It's a true story. At Lone Pine and Gravenstein, at Landers Automotive, they talked to us for an hour, and they said, okay, we're going to let you go, but I want to see your registration. I opened my glove box, and it was in July. Fireworks coming out. They confiscated everything and still let us go today. 1975 now. I would be on the front page of the newspaper, right? Yes, okay. But I learned a lot of character from that. 1977 was a turning point in my life. I was going to go away and either play football or do track. I was in the top 7 in the state championships for shot put. And my father was diagnosed with cancer January of 1977. And Dr. Sweeney, he operated, I'll never forget, he came out and said, well, he's got 6 months to live. So that was kind of a turning point in my life. I worked harder in track, very successful. In May of that year, my father was failing rapidly. May of that year, the coach from San Jose State called my house at 7 o'clock in the morning and he talked to my mother. I never told my mother I heard this phone call until 25 years later, but he offered me a full scholarship at San Jose State. Now, San Jose State in the 70s was the best track school in the whole country. I mean, Mac Wilkins, Brian Oldfield, all these guys, sprinters, they worked out there. And my mother said, I need my son at home. That was kind of an inspiration for me. A month later, graduated high school. All my friends went to Disneyland. I went to work. In our first year, growing vegetables on 5 acres, we worked all day and I delivered them at night. And we grossed $4,000. True story. And a year later, I leased an acre from Donna Carnali. A year after that, I leased a few more acres. But in 1982, and that's the reason why I love this community so much, my high school counselor, Pete Barbieri, helped me get a loan and helped me buy 40 acres on Gurnville Road. And that's where our expansion went. And in 1983, we planted the whole thing to zucchini squash. Now, we all know how much zucchini you get off of one plant. The Medfly hit San Jose South, and many of you remember that. We had the only zucchini squash in Northern California. We picked about 40,000 boxes, did really well, and that was kind of the catapult that expanded our produce business. And by 1988, I married my lovely wife, Terry. And at that point, we were almost shipping 1 million cartons of produce a year at that point. So the business kept growing. And my mother, who in 1932 was 16, left Oklahoma to come out and live with her sister. They had lost the farm in the Depression. And she taught me, John, every time you get $5,000 or $10,000, buy some property. And that's what we did. So we worked hard and worked all day, delivered the vegetables, kept growing the business. And then in 1995, we had 35 acres where our home is today and where Scott lives up there. We could not grow vegetables. We didn't have enough water. It's kind of a 3 or 4 year drought period. And so Warren Dutton, we all know the Dutton family, Warren Dutton said, John, we can grow grapes up there, no problem. And that's what we did. You can see my 2 daughters, Jacqueline and Katerina. And Jacqueline, now 26, she runs our tasting room and wine club. Katerina, she's a little like me. She worked for me for 6 months and then she left and now she works for another winery. So, but we hope she'll come back. It's all good. It's all good. And then going into 2001, I'll keep moving along here, but that was the first year we made wine, 400 cases, 200 cases of Pinot, 200 cases of Chardonnay. And that's kind of a funny story also because we still had our vegetable plant going full blast. And our winemaker was Dan Cedarquist from the Deloge family. And we had to put Visqueen between the tanks in the vegetables because we had basil and herbs and he was concerned about the smell and things getting into that, the aromas. But we still have some of those bottles from 2001 and they taste fantastic, which is great. So, and then 2010, all of our vineyards became sustainable, certified sustainable, which is a big deal. So I'm going to start moving along in the slide presentation here.
There you go, John.
Okay, great. So Sonoma County is sustainable, then, now, and forever. So what does that mean? So for us, certified sustainable just makes us better farmers, makes us better business people, and take care of our employees. And kind of like just everything we do, we recycle. All the water that we use at the winery is recycled. And then here's the pumice piles that'll all go back into the ground and fertilizer for next year. And then three reasons why it matters: good dirt, water, soil, and management, good deeds to our employees, and good sense and economic health. And we have many employees now that have been with us over 30 years. So we're very, very fortunate, very, very fortunate of that. And then sustainability matters to the consumer. And how many consumers in here would buy wine if it was certified sustainable grapes? I mean, and pay more money for it? Uh-oh. We won't pay more money. Brian Bauer will. But it costs a lot of money to farm here in Sonoma County. It costs a lot of money to farm. So The goal is to be able to protect the community, get back to our community, and make sure our employees have a good paying job and health insurance. I can hardly read this, but our creed, we are farmers always, we are grape growers today, we believe in preserving agriculture for future generations. We see sustainability as our compass for better farming and business. We understand that history offers a guide to making decisions in the future. We believe in continuous learning, improvement, and collaboration, and we are positive contributors to our community and our industry. And I've been a founding member of the Sonoma County Grape Commission, and it's just a great thing. We now have about a $2.2 million budget, and every penny goes back into promoting Sonoma County wine grapes around the world, which is a great thing. So this is our pond. We have a 10 million gallon pond here right behind the winery. Many of you have been there to different functions, and that's our pumping station. It doesn't look that pretty because the pipes are not all painted, but on top of that roof is solar. So we have about 30% energy comes from solar for the winery. These are just two of our employees. They're getting bird net ready to put out, and we all know what happens when grapes get ready to pick. You got a few grapevines in your yard and the starlings come along. What happens? Yeah. Wow. This is a water. It's like a water meter, solar powered, and this helps tell us when we need to irrigate. And that's one of the weather stations. We have 3 weather stations. Right now we have about 850 acres producing grapes, and pretty soon we'll have 950 as we're planting more. And this is a very valuable tool, especially during frost time. During frost time, constantly monitoring that. We're pretty fortunate this past year. We only had 4 really cold days. And that's when the temperature gets below 36. We wake up a team of about 8 people, and they go to different ranches, and then they turn on the water when it's 33.5 or 34 degrees, depending on the dew points and things like that. Our new 100-acre Chardonnay planting is going to be protected by fans now, not water. Which, on one hand, it's great, but on another hand, water will protect grapes down to 26, fans will protect it down to 30. So that if we have a bad frost year like we did in 2008, that could be a problem. But the water situation and the new rules coming to California, to not only to growers but to the communities, is going to be a big shock for a lot of folks. That's just one of our portable fans there that we have. Now this is a map of all of our different vineyards. Right there's only 20 different sites, but if you go down, look down here in the corner at Hazel's block, I promised my mother I would never sell that. That's that 5-acre original farm, and that's where it all started down there.
We can't see
5 acres. When I was 16 years old, I joined the local Hessel Fire Department, and I used to be able to run down the railroad tracks to the firehouse. It was quicker to do that than drive there, but I did that for 10 years. And right after we moved to Guerneville Road, we planted that in plum trees, and we had the yellow Shiro plums. And we pulled those out, and now it's all grapevines. And we just grafted it from Pinot Gris to Chardonnay. But these are all our different sites and our vineyard designates. We have 4 new vineyards that we're going to add as we get our map updated. One of them you can see is Pierre's block. We all know Pierre from Chapio. So everything we do is Russian River Valley.
I can't see it.
Now this is the first vineyard that we planted here up on Burnside Road. Our 35 acres up there, and then the Randall family block is also part of that. Nick, thank you. And when we planted there in 1995, none of these vineyards were up there. Now look who you have. Look who your neighbor. Ted Lemon, one of the few winemakers in the world to have 100.1. Paul Hobbs, everybody knows Paul Hobbs. And then we've got the Martinelli family and the Mary Edwards family, and then we have Jim Pratt over here. So this is right now, they're looking to move forward with a AVA of Sebastopol Hills, because it really is a special place. It really is a special place. These are the different wineries that we sell grapes to. Deloach, Duckhorn, Flowers, Jay, Costa Brown, La Crema, Lioco, McCrosty, Mary Edwards, Sonoma-Cutrer, and Westmart. This is just a few. We sell to 30 different wineries. So we produce enough grapes for 300,000 cases. but we only bottle 30,000 under our own label. So we sell about 90%. Why do we have that model? Because it would cost millions of dollars to market your wine to get it up to the 100,000 case mark. So that's not really our model. We started with 400 cases, 2001. In 2001, 9/11 happened. We really didn't start selling any wine until 2003. And that is when a lot of wineries, if you were marginal, Deloche went bankrupt 3 years later after that event. There were wineries that didn't ship wine for almost a year after 9/11. So that was a tough time for us to get started. So after that happened, our goal was to sell the grapes, bottle what we could sell, and grow that business organically. Right now we only have 2 salespeople, Nick Fry and Judy Pauley, and between the 2 of them they sell about 24,000 cases. The balance is sold out of the tasting room and wine club. This is just one of our erosion practices that we do. This is on a volunteer basis. There is a VESCO erosion ordinance here in the county, but these are mature vines, and we put out hay and things to just help out with the erosion before the winter rains hit. This is just a vineyard in the middle of winter time in dormancy, and that vineyard, will go back to that. So yesterday we started pre-pruning. We pre-pruned with a machine. It'll come along, and then when the pre-pruner is done, this is what you get. And this probably saves 60% labor. And then we prune down to 2 buds per squirt. And then this is just a great time of year. This is usually the first week of April to the second week of April. The buds are just starting to push, and you can see the bunches right in there. Yeah. So that's 2 bunches, which is a beautiful thing. And a lot of my friends, they actually do bud dissection, and they'll go in and they'll send them into the lab to try to find out how many bunches per bud. But I will tell you, in the year 2016, the crop was off 35%. So when you have, say, 40 buds and 20 of them are one bunch, that's a big deal. There's nothing you can do about that. Mother Nature, she's tough. So here's a vineyard. This will be probably the last week of April, just starting to come out. You'll see the rows next to it there that are mowed down. That row will also get mowed down. Tractors coming right down there. And during the frost protection, if the ground is mowed all the way down, you gain about 1 degree protection. If the ground is disc, you gain about 3 degrees. So as we often talk, we don't leave our cover crop till maturity. We're not in the business selling our cover crop. So it's very important. Once we can get on the ground, we just start mowing it down. These are berries that are just past bloom time. Now, Pinot Noir, Pinot Gris, there's a 10-day cycle. If it's too hot, if it's too cold, if it's windy, and if it's foggy, those berries will drop right off of that bunch. I'm not kidding. Now, we had a year where 16 was tough, but way back in, I think it was like 06, where instead of getting 5 tons per acre, we got 1.2 tons per acre. Because we had, I don't know how many days of fog and stuff like that, and those little berries, they just drop off. Now, Chardonnay is more, it's not susceptible to shatter, which we call the shatter, as much as Pinot Noir. And then here's a bunch that, this is a critical time, right before bunch close. We want to make sure we get a fungicide spray on that to get in there between the berries. And a lot of times you've got bloom, and you've got bunch close within about a 21-day period. So it's really critical that we have enough equipment to make sure we do that, because if we don't protect those berries inside that, what happens is we have a year like this year where we got September 29th, we get 2 inches of rain, the water goes inside the bunch, and the bunch starts rotting from the inside out. And once that happens, there's just you have no control over that. So that's why it's so critical And this year was that year where we did have a few blocks that we either had to pick them in 3 to 5 days, or we lost the whole block. Right, Bill? Bill is. He said, "John, why are you so stressful today?" I said, "Just rained 2 inches." This is a bunch of Pinot Gris here. That's just starting veraison right there. So you wouldn't even test that, but that's probably about 12 bricks or so. Bins of Pinot Noir getting taken into the winery. And this is a great shot. Ashley Kilkenny, who does our marketing in Cherry, they did put the shot together of all of our different grapes. This is a shot inside the winery. So it's destemming the Pinot. So grapes and juice on the right, and then pumice on the left. And again, those of you who've been out to winery during harvest time, this is what they call a punch down advice. That is mixing the cab of the Pinots. All of the Boleto Estate Pinots are in 6-ton fermenters, and I mean, they just come out great. And my winemaker is Anthony Beckman, so thank you for the compliment, but I have a great team, great winemaking team, and Anthony has also a great team, and Anthony's been with us 13 years and just does a great job. But what happens here with the Pinot is that for a 6-ton fermenter, we might put in 5 tons, 10 bends. They turn the temperature down, and then for 2 days, it kind of bring down the temperature on the vine, on the grapes. You want it to get it down to like 45, and then you turn off the cooling, and then it starts the fermenting process. And it takes anywhere from 12 to 16 days before those grapes are fully fermented. And every day, between 2 and 4 times a day, everything's mixed, and that's why you get the dark color of the Pinot Noir. And honestly, big wineries, they're doing 100-ton fermenter tanks or 50 tons, and so these 6-ton fermenters just do a great job for us, and the end result is wonderful. And this is just the barrels being laid down inside the winery. We added a new building 2 years ago, 44,000 square feet. Soon our hospitality center will be open, hopefully about 8 months from now. And now we have a big enough facility that if the weather is bad outside, they'll lay all the barrels down. They're topping the barrels every month. Every month they're topping the barrels. It's so important, and that you just keep an eye on all those things. So we talk about our employees. 2002, one of my main people, Manuel Vallejo, he's been with me since, well, he said he was 18 for 4 years, so he's been working for me, I think 36 years now. Both his daughters graduated from Sonoma State, and both came back to work for us, and one has moved on, and now one does a lot of HR for us. It's just a great family. But this is the baseball field that we have. We have our own field of dreams. We left 5 acres not planted, 2002, and I told our employees, hey, if you supply the labor, we'll do everything else, bring in the dirt, and for the baseball, for the center field, we put in all the irrigation, but it's 320 feet to center field. So it is regulation. They do play every Sunday, and yeah, it's really a fun thing. And then that's the end result of a nice bottle of Pinot and some cheese and some bread. And I don't know, it looks like corn in the background. My wife did this. But that's things. I would like to talk a little bit about this harvest. I will say that this is the longest harvest I've ever worked. 68 days. We started August 28th and ended on November 7th. So basically, I mean, we had our first sales meeting yesterday that I attended. It was like, wow, I haven't seen these people in 70 days. I mean, crazy. But record year for Sonoma County grapes. I think we're going to see a record tonnage that's going to happen this year. And the only kind of scary thing is that towards the end of the season this year, it was hard to sell your excess grapes. So we had about 500 tons we could not sell to other wineries. I mean, you could sell them, but you had to give them away. And so we brought those all in and crushed them, and we're going to probably sell that on the bulk market. But that was kind of a scary thing for a lot of growers, and that usually excess Sonoma County grapes, Russian River grapes, you're able to sell those no problem. But this is a year that was it was just kind of a surprise. A couple turning points in my life, and that I didn't mention through the slide thing here, but in 1998, again we planted our first grapes in 1995. Things were going great. We were still farming vegetables, and we built our new warehouse in 1996. In 1998, we had 3 El Nino rainstorms come through. Every 3 weeks we planted and it wiped out our crop. We planted and wiped out our crop. And that same year, we had 200 employees walk out on strike July 28th, 1998. We were on the front page of USA Today, and not that that was a good thing, but we were on the front page of the Press Democrat for 12 days in a row. And that's a story that I think I might have told Ron Cutler when we were working on Cajun and listening to the Doors all night down there. But that, I can't really share the whole thing with that, but that happened, and then our bank called us up on a conference call and foreclosed on our operating loan. All this happened in like a 3-month period. And this is 1998, and a local businessman, who I will not name, wrote me a check for $1 million and said, pay me back when you can. And that's a true story. So that was kind of a turning point totally in my life, because one, my wife Terry, she stuck together. I mean, there was a 12-month period that the stress level was off the charts. But paid back my friend in a couple years. We were able to pay the bank off. The bank that foreclosed, we paid them off. Then we got a new loan, and again, you need a couple bottles of whiskey and to talk about all this. But before that, I was a hardworking, just go, and changed my whole perspective on giving back to the community. And I think that's why Rotary is so important. I joined Rotary back in 1994, 95. I was in the Noon Club, and I did that for 6 years. But when all these things started happening, I had to take like a 5-year break to get my business things back together. But I joined Rotary to give back to the local community because Pete Barbieri, my high school counselor, helped me do that. When my father was dying, my friends, Ann Chapnick, Ann Harris, who is now Ann Harris, came out and helped me harvest our vegetables. So we're blessed where we live now. I just traveled to South Dakota to do some hunting, and then Iowa to do some wine work. In the Midwest, it's freezing out there. You know, how lucky are we to live in Sonoma? My God, I'm telling you. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. But that's why Rotary is so important in my life, was to give back locally. And I hope 10, 15 years from now, if I want to travel the world and be able to help out in other parts of the world, that would just be fantastic to be able to do that and the opportunity. And we were so close to eradicating polio, right? My God. And we've made two rounds of Pinot for polio. And we might make a third. We might make a third.
Yeah.
Because we've got the juice.
There we go.
Michael McLaughlin can promise me he can sell it all. Listen, I know I'm past my time, but you want me to take 1 or 2 questions, or you want to wrap it up?
Couple questions.
Yes.
Would you define sustainable, if somebody at the table asked?
Well, sustainable is just the practice of trying to conserve energy, trying to conserve water, less time to go over the ground, less times to try to just do everything in order to take care of the environment and also be sustainable in business. There's not really the defining decision, and if you're not sustainable economically, nothing works. So that's.
Is it also implied that it's organic?
No, we're not organic. It'd be very difficult to grow organic wine grapes here in West County. You would probably be successful 1 year out of 5 to get them to a point of maturity for wine, and that is because of the fog and influence that we have. Yes?
Why did 9/11 have a downturn on wineries?
Well, when 9/11 happened, tourism went to zero. People weren't flying. People weren't traveling. It was a very scary time.
But they were still drinking. but just not coming here and.
They were still drinking, but they weren't, and the only reason why I know so much about that is because when I first started the winery, Cecil Deloach family helped us, and we were kind of a partner in that. They didn't own any of the land, but they owned part of the business. And so I was able to go to their meetings. Now, Deloach Winery at one time was one of the most successful wineries in this county, so I was able to go to those meetings and hear the business factors of what's going on. One week you're selling 5,000 cases, and then all of a sudden you're zero. And so the cash flow totally stops. And it wasn't just them that were affected by this, it was many, many different places. Okay, one more question then.
Yeah.
I think, Mike, waiting here.
Hey, come on, Brian. Come on, I got voice working. No, we're just joking.
It's really great what you're doing for the erosion and so forth. You had a speaker a couple weeks ago to talk a lot about that. It's hard with erosion. It's like what you're doing is fantastic.
Yeah.
Is there, without too strict of rules for the other grape growers, how can you influence them to do some of the great stuff you're doing?
Well, it's a free country, I can't. Well,
I can buy more sustainable.
Well, I will tell you that right now, 80% of the vineyards are certified sustainable in the county, and it's probably bigger than that. Our Sonoma County Grape Commission 5 years ago made a pledge to have 100% by 2020. We're not going to be 100% by January of 2020, but we're probably going to be around 90-95%. So yeah, they're really doing a great job with that. As far as giving back to the community, I don't think you find a better industry in this county that gives back more than the wine industry. I mean, really, honestly. And even the big players give back so much. So I think we're pretty blessed to have that. And you know, for me, it's my way of life, and our family's way of life here is to live in this great community, and that's why we give back so much. So, okay, thank you.
John, as you know, thank you so much for coming. We have this little exercise we do. There's people here drunk with potential and gambling and so forth and so on. I don't know about it, John. Could you please get one of these tickets and read it to the expectant audience? Pick 9, John. 334.
34?
334.
Yay!
Thank you. I'm a winner vicariously. All right, okay, come on, Ellie. Pick that ace. The fix is in, the fix is in. And we got a joke from Nancy here. Okay. So, ace of clubs. So close! Oh my God, keep that. Consolation prize, Boletto Chardonnay. Who brought this today? Thank you, Bob. Bob Caesar brought this. Good, and Nancy.
Okay. 2 patients limped into 2 different medical clinics. By the way, I was just at the hospital yesterday with my mother. That was fun. And the wait's terrible. With the same complaint. Both have trouble walking and appear to require a hip replacement. The first patient is examined within an hour, is x-rayed the same day, and has a time booked for surgery the following week. The second sees his family doctor after waiting 3 weeks for an appointment, then waits 8 weeks to see a specialist, then gets an x-ray, which isn't reviewed for another week, and finally has his surgery scheduled for a month from there. Anybody know the difference between the 2 patients? The first one was a golden retriever.
Joe, take us home!
Trails to you until we get. Trails to you, hot on red. Trails to you till we meet again.
Oh, ding dong!
Do it! Hurry, we can't leave. You can't